I just spent the whole morning telling you how important here it is in keeping your receipts. It really is important, whether you're just starting your business right now or 2 months down the road. Again, all these receipts are going to represent expenses that you can claim against the income you're bringing in your business here. Okay, so again, yeah. That's okay. In the sole proprietorship, you can claim these expenses. Even prior before you start your business. Actually, technically, before you file your first tax return, you have up to 18 months to do your first return. So, and like we said, it's possible to claim back some of these taxes back 3 years, as long as you had the intent of working on this venture. Okay. So again, whether it's a $12 lunch or a $2 lunch or a 20-cent item, you've got to get in the habit of keeping all these receipts. And more, get in the habit of asking for these receipts. Many times, like I had lunch with Kyle, we like to put it on a credit card. This way, both of us can write it off. She gets the receipt, I get the receipt from my credit card. She gets the other receipt. Okay, so you can both write it off, although it's one meal. So what we're going to do in this next half here is show you 7 ways to profit. More importantly, how to develop these ideas. And if you follow these 7 steps, I can assure you, you have a better chance of being successful. Forget about these basics for getting set up and registered. These 7 steps, you'll find, if I can give you 2 points of advice in being successful in business. First is to get started and then never quit. But these 7 steps you're going to use because it normally takes you anywhere from 3 to 5 different products before you become successful. So you have that perseverance. If you're fortunate, you might hit on the first one. Understand, even professionals takes 3 to 5 products before they become successful. They might be 3 or 5 different business ventures, but that 5th one, you will become successful. So as long as you have that perseverance, no question you will be successful. So the first one here in the 7 steps of profit is finding or inventing a product. Okay. Now I'm going to show you some different sources. In the blueprint, we show you 22 sources in lesson 3. This is just 9 of them. And I just want to give you some ideas where you can come about to get these ideas for a product or service if you don't already have a product to market. So the first one here is using Canadian Government Trade Rep. This is the directory that you need. It's called the Directory of the Canadian Trade Commissioning Service. Now what happens is when you're working right now, as you know you're being taxed, a percentage of those tax dollars goes towards paying these government employees' wages. Some of these government wage people work overseas in the Canadian embassies and consulates abroad. There's just over 100 different Canadian embassies and consulates overseas, and one of these guys, it could be the ambassador, but more than likely there's a trade rep and trade commissioner who also works out of this office here. So a lot of times what happens is I'm a local manufacturer here in Canada, and I want to sell my product in Western Europe. I'm going to contact all the embassies we have in Western Europe and say, if ever you have any people in that particular country who want to sell my product in Canada, please let me know. So just simply contacting the Canadian trade rep for the country that you know specifically you want to deal with, contact that trade rep and ask them if there's any manufacturers there who are interested in selling the product right here in Canada. Okay. The opposite is true. Just as we have embassies and consulates overseas, they have embassies right here in Canada. Well, 90% of them are right here either in Toronto or in Ottawa. So you just go to the white pages or yellow pages under embassies and consulates, and you'll find them. So rather than waiting for them, you just show up at their doorstep. And you're looking for a product from the UK, from Scotland, Spain, Portugal. You just show up on their doorstep, and they'll let you know what manufacturers are interested in selling the product right here in Canada. Another source here is foreign domestic import and export associations. Now, you really should, if you're interested in international trade, join one of these 2 organizations. Again, when we touch on acquiring specialized knowledge, step number 10, this is where you're going to find the customs broker, what we call freight forwarder, and the banker that you're going to deal with. Because again, it takes years to find the best customs broker and the best freight forwarder. By becoming a member of the $200, you've already found it. But more, if you're looking for a product or a business opportunity, these guys have been involved in international trade for 20, 30 years. Generally, they represent one product line. They might be exclusive to one product line. Say they represent 3M who sells overheads here. I get into the manufacturing of making overheads. I'm going to contact this guy right away because I know he has a distribution for marketing my product already. But chances are he's interested in just carrying this line here. By simply getting to know these guys and networking with them, he'll say, oh, if you're interested in selling this product, just give John a call here. Okay, so by networking, you're going to come across a lot of these product and business opportunities. And these are where the best product opportunities are found, by getting networked with other business people who don't have the time for carrying these products. Foreign domestic chambers of commerce. Again, the minimum you should be joining is the local chambers of commerce, whatever business you get into. Because you can't consult with your friends or guys that work here when you're in business. You need to find out what accountants they're using, what lawyers they're using. We said earlier, if you're interested in buying a business, chances are I'm going to put out the word if I have a business for sale to the guys I know at the chambers of commerce, if they know anyone, if not themselves, from picking up the business. Usually by the time it hits the newspaper, the guys that I know I've already exhausted. So by the time it hits the newspaper, if it was a good business, it probably would be sold already. So again, foreign and domestic chambers of commerce. So if you're doing business overseas, what you may want to consider is joining the foreign chambers of commerce, because this will give your company a Canadian presence in the country you're doing business. So it shows you a little more serious and more credible. So for $200 investment, it definitely is worth it, but you get to network with other business people in that country that you're doing business in. Foreign and domestic trade shows, or sorry, foreign and domestic trade directories. Now, there's 4 main directories that you should be aware of. The first one here is called Canadian Trade Index. It's published by the Canadian Manufacturers Association, and then that directory lists all the manufacturers in Canada. It lists some foreign manufacturers. It lists all the wholesalers, all the distributors. It also lists all the agents in Canada itself. So a lot of times it's much easier to find a product by its trade brand and trademark, and then you can work it backward to who the agent for the product is. Okay. The second directory is called Fraser's, and these directories are about 2 inches thick. Fraser's comes in about 12 inches thick. There's 4 volumes in it. But the main thing they list, again, are manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, and agents in there. The third one is called Scots. Scots come in 4 versions as well. There's Ontario, Quebec, Atlantic Canada, and Western Canada. All 3 of these directories classify their products using what they call SIC codes, or Standard Industrial Classification. And now, the problem in these codes outside of Canada, no one knows what these codes mean, which leads me to the 4th directory, which is called Compass Canada. I had the opportunity to participate in the making of Compass Canada about 2 years ago. But Compass is actually the world's largest and oldest business register. They're the largest in covering over 130 countries. It's relatively new in North America because the U.S. and Canada started at the same time in classifying. We classified the top 30,000 companies in Canada. But it's the only one who also classified business services. Those other directors I told you, they only classify products. Okay, so chances are the business you're going to open will be a business service. So here you're going to use Compass to source an exclusive line, say for insurance or real estate, or become a broker for a certain line of product. So using Compass will allow you. But more importantly, no matter what country you're sourcing from, whether it's Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, it could be in Western Europe itself or Southeast Asia. All of these countries use the same universal system for classifying products and services. Okay, so those 4 directories you do need to know. At the same, usually when you go through these directories, you can find them at the libraries. But normally in business, you should have your own set of these books. They're anywhere from $100 to $300. But this is the tool that you're going to require to use to source, but also you're going to use it to sell your products too. Most of them have what they call a company profile. So they'll list who their parent companies, how they're affiliated, the branch offices, how many employees they have, what kind of sales volume. Now, they're not going to give you exactly what their sales are. A lot of times they use a range 1 to 5 million, 5 to 10 million. But the main thing here in using this directory, using these directories to sell your products to, and I can tell you where you're going to make your money today is in selling business to business, not selling into consumer products, because the margins are so little in selling consumer products. But these directories, you don't want to find that you're selling to a guy who just started yesterday. Let's say we're selling these overheads. If we call on a company who has 3 employees, it's unlikely they need an overhead. So we're going to go through this directory. Our criteria might be that we only want companies who have at least 20 employees, because they know at least every week we're going to have a manager's meeting or a monthly meeting where they may be able to use some overhead. So you have the criteria that you may only want companies who do more than $5 million sale and who've been in business for at least 2 years. So using these directories, you can narrow down very specifically to target these companies, whether you call on through direct mail or direct door-to-door. Okay? So you can use these directories to either source products or to use them to market your products too. The 4th one here is foreign and domestic trade shows. Now, trade shows, you should be participating, but later on you'll find you may want to exhibit in some of these trade shows. The directory to find the trade show in your industry. You can be in air conditioning, you can be in aircraft, you can be in toys, gifts, dolls, electrical, electronics, footwear. Main thing is, whatever business you get involved with, if it's large enough, there's a trade show that represents that industry. So the directory to find the date of your trade show in Canada is called Canadian Shows and Exhibition. The equivalent in the U.S. is called Schedule Exhibit. Now, if you don't have a product right now, what you want to do is go visit them. Now, this is not a consumer show like the home show or an auto show. This is where once a year, everybody in the industry gets together for 2 or 3 days. This is where, for the first time, you're going to see new products being introduced in the marketplace. And literally, in the backdrop of every one of these guys' booths, are saying dealers and distributors wanted. Many times, if you're looking for what we call a locator, these are independent salespeople. If we say importing a hardware product, we need this guy who's calling on these independent hardware stores. You want to sell your product and locate. This is the only time they come out of the woodwork. Throughout the year, it's hard to nail down these guys. It's the first time you actually get to meet the president of these companies. Most of the time, you're just trying to get through to his secretary. So it's face-to-face selling contact for products and business opportunities. Now some of these shows may not, if it's very specialized, may not even be in Canada. So you might have to go to Europe and the United States to attend. But minimum, you should go visit in the industry that you're considering getting involved with. Another major source is Foreign Domestic Trading Magazine. Just as they have once a year a trade show, every month they have trade magazines to let you know what's happening in that industry. Now in Canada, I guess you should know, domestically, 90% of the magazines are produced by McLean Hunter or Southam, and they produce thousands of these magazines, so no way what I'm showing you here is any listing. If you're involved in photography or video, this is the kind of magazine you want to subscribe to. It'll let you know what's happening in that industry. Again, new products they talk about that are coming on the shelf maybe 3 months or 6 months from down the road. If you're looking for employment opportunities, many times in the back part, they have employment opportunities listed in that field. If you're involved with hotels or restaurants, this one's called Canadian Hotel and Restaurant. If you're involved with selling groceries, whether it's wholesale, if you're a manufacturer, you're a retailer, you should be subscribing to these type of magazines. If you're involved with computers at all, as long as you have anything to do with that industry, whether you're supplying a component, a part to it, you should be subscribing to this magazine because it'll let you know what companies are buying and what ones are selling. So Canadian Data Systems for computers. If you're involved with retail at any level, you should be subscribing to this one. If you're involved with sales and marketing. If you're involved with office equipment, okay. McLean or Southam publishes a book called 100 Plus, and it means they've published more than 100 trade magazines. So it starts from A to Z. So you may want to write for this one first to see what one they actually produce. If you're involved with transportation, this one's called Driver and Owner. If you're involved with hardware, this is called Hardware Merchandising. If you're involved with jewelry, it's called Canadian Jeweler. If you're involved with aviation, this is called Canadian Aviation. So you want to subscribe to some of these magazines just to keep you current on what's happening in your industry. Now, I don't want to discourage you, but when you go through some of these Canadian trade magazines and you write to them saying, I'm interested in selling your product, chances are they already have someone selling their product or someone who's representing their product line. Same thing when we go through some of these directories that I talked about. So what you have to look at is the opposite. Unless you can show them another way in where they're not currently selling. Again, that's where these 90 strategies come. They may not be selling through telemarketing. They may not be selling through export. They may not be selling, say, in Western Canada. So you decide to relocate to Western Canada because they're not, without increasing their overhead, you're going to help increase their sales. But more than likely, where you're going to source your products are overseas. Understand, less than 4% of the manufacturers ever export their products outside the country. Again, these guys have huge warehouses of product. It's just sitting there. They have wages to pay. They have rent to pay. So here you can help them increase their sales without competing with people locally. So foreign trade magazines, some of the ones you should be aware of. And at the Institute, we carry about 50 of them. But the blueprints in Lesson 3, we list over 500 of these trade magazines. And a lot of these are hard to find if you try to source it on your own. But some of them you might be interested in subscribing to. Some of them might be free, some of them might be as much as $300–400 to subscribe to. But if you're serious about business, this is something you want to keep up to date on so that you know some of the latest products that are coming onto the market. This one here is called Hong Kong Enterprises. This is a general merchandise catalog, but they also have ones for footwear, leatherware, sporting goods. They have electrical, electronics. And right in this particular one, they have an office right here in Toronto. It's called the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. They're located at 347 Bay Street. Now this one is actually free, but the mailing cost, this is about £2. It costs $200 just for the mailing cost. But if you're interested in looking for products from Hong Kong, most of these are actually manufacturers in China. But Hong Kong is the major focus of where the agent is represented. If you're involved with buying products from Europe, this is called Made in Europe. It covers 28 European countries. Okay, its oldest is probably the best one for covering Europe. And again, they have a business-to-business one, what we call industrial, and they have a general consumer one. This one's called Taiwan Products. Okay, it's just general consumer products. This one's Korea Trade. Korea Trade produces about 6 different other versions. Some of them can be very general, some of them can be very specialized. This one's just dealing in sporting goods, for example. This one's called Export Market. Again, this covers Western Europe. This one's here called Taiwan Home Lighting, produced by an organization called Tradewinds. Now, Tradewinds also produces, this is a monthly magazine, Taiwan Bicycle and Parts, Taiwan Metal Machinery, Taiwan Woodworking Machinery, Taiwan Leather Goods and Footwear, Taiwan Hardware, Taiwan Stationery, Taiwan Toys, Taiwan Gifts, Taiwan Sporting Goods. So if you're interested in one of those fields, I think it's about $60 to subscribe. Also, if you're a manufacturer and you're looking for some investment capital or someone to joint venture with, you may want to subscribe to something like this. It's called International Invention Register. You take a small ad here, looking for investors, and it's just a classified. Another one from Korea Trade, just for toys and dolls. and this is sampling, but what you want to do, starting out, you may not want to subscribe to them, but you want to just get a back issue to see what's actually in them. Again, in Blueprints, what we show you is how to get some of these items for free. And what we give you here is a letter that you can use to get a back issue of the trade magazine. And many times,